Big welcome today to our session 4 lunch break series, and in Super September. It's going to be a fantastic session. We're really pumped up today to give you lots of information and engage the crowd. So remember, you can always put your questions down on chat and we'll work through those, and the panelists will be working hard to answer as many of those as we can or get back to you after the session. We've got a great theme today, making an impact. So the big word's impact, and you know, it is very important no matter what you do. Making that impact will be certainly brought out in all our guest speakers today. Andrew Phillips from the Phillips Foundation. He'll be increasing the value, so the double value add today, maximising your opportunities, looking a little bit on leadership towards, you know, mergers, acquisitions, joint ventures, that type of thing. We'll then go to Stefan Kazakis, our legend from the Business Benchmark Group, and he'll be talking about systemic change and legacy, formula for life success and formula for transformation. Very important in these times. And of course, our resident guru of the mind, if you don't have that mind and emotions right, Mr. Judd Murray, the Cognicise Foundation. He'll be again working on building further capacity for yourself and your self-care to make sure you can maximise your business performance. You know, being the state of reflection and even things around life legacy, and not just through your business, but what sort of mark you want to leave with the work you do. So we look forward to a great session. Just on the topic today, making an impact, I sort of just think a little bit back to our business with Andrew and I for many years. And as we mentioned last week, we really worked from a coaching philosophy. We never went to business school, definitely didn't do any administration courses. We were qualified teachers in the physical education space, but we learn a lot as young people in elite sporting groups and teams and squads. And I remember the one about impact, and it sort of reverberates through all those experiences that, you know, people say the same sort of things. Don't sit around, don't hope, don't spectate, don't wait. You got to do something. You actually got to act and do. Make the play, create the opportunity, have a go, play smarter, be more efficient, be super effective. Probably sounds like an AFL footy coach, but that's pretty much how we run our business, to be absolutely honest. And key actions you'd look for around yourself, because if you get yourself right, things like, you know, be valuable to your team. You know, be valuable. What do you bring to the team? What's unique? What's your little edge to your team? It might be in an academic sense, might be IT sense, might be your people skills, might be your system skills. Have a think through that with you and the other key workers in your business. Play to your strengths. No point. We learned that real early. Don't try and be the expert at everything. Employ better people than yourselves. Okay, and know your strength and get it better. Make it you be the expert. I used to think be the expert in what you know best. And also be the best in your role. There's always people who want your role. And I know from our dad and from our mentors and on our board, there's always people coming up to take your role. So make sure you're PDing yourself and getting better and getting the right mentors around you. Keep working on your craft. There's going to be intricacies to your craft of what you do in those areas as well. So make sure you're working on that. And they're skills. They're drills and skills and practices so you can get better. And perform consistently. That's the key. I think anyone who expects outcomes, business, you know, on the sporting field, doesn't matter what pursuit, music or drama or whatever you're doing, you want to perform at a high level consistently. And I think if you get those things in order, that all helps. In the bigger picture about making an impact, the end product, I think for us was really important. We talked about the last 3 feet, but really it's the grassroots. Do you know the grassroots, the right bottom level of your business where the interaction between customer and supplier is? And for us, that was kids. It was the education of kids and the care of kids. And that was really important. Their program and the things that we taught them were really valuable for their upbringing. The product's got to be worthy too. Like I always thought, it's great to work for something where it's a good product. The education, development of children. Never had a problem with getting up every day, working extra hours, because the end of it, getting tens of thousands or more kids, you know, well educated and feeling, you know, strong self-esteem and confidence was always a real big motivator. Also empowering others, seeing others lift up, like seeing others that are come. And I know there's a few Camp Australia staff on these calls, and I will name Rosa, who's one of our managers, and I remember employing her as probably just on the ground as a staff member, to become a coordinator of a service, to become a regional manager, a state manager, a national manager, a head of chief operations officer. Amazing progress, just empowering, doing PD, giving her confidence, giving her a pathway. And, you know, she made a massive impact by taking those steps up the ladder. You've got to enjoy their development. And then you succeed as a team. You know, everyone gets a lift when everyone's performing their roles well and doing their absolute best. And sharing that journey is the key. The final thing for making an impact today is that selfless, you know, at the end, when you get all those things in order, you and your effect on others, what is that legacy? And that may come through with the other speakers today. You know, what's the selfless sort of angle you're going to look at? Is it a social cause? Is it giving back? Is it volunteering? How are you actually going to make a difference? So I'm sure the speakers today will add some colour to the theme. So welcome, Andrew. Go for it.
Yeah, great introduction, Anne. I'll just get my presentation up. Yeah, and welcome to everybody today. And we're just wrapped to see the growth of the registrations in the last few weeks. So I know I've sent it out wide and varied, and that collegiate sharing and friends, it's fantastic because there's always a way to learn something. One of the biggest things, I guess, when we thought about this and talking with Stefan a couple of weeks ago is trying to provide takeaways each week. I know when I used to listen to different seminars or guests or presenters, it was always just snippets we could take away. So hopefully each week there's something you can add to your business or even in your personal life. As Anth mentioned today, continuing on our impact. I remember speaking to one of our board members and deliberating around trying to do an MBA. And he said, "You're doing an MBA on the job." And I really had to stop and think that you're actually right. There is nothing missed in business if you're running your own business or a very heavy part of business that you don't see in doing a university course. So I do really value that comment he did and stuck at it, running the business, and had all the trials and tribulations over those 30 years. So many takeaways. Hopefully today I'll be reviewing last week's value add session. We've gone from startup, rapid growth, value add, and then towards exit as the 4 stages that I see. And I have mentioned that they can be compressed in short amount of years for some businesses, or like in our case, over 30 years. So today I'll also add some snippets on some of the challenges, some leadership thoughts, merger and acquisition versus organic growth, and a little bit of fun and a couple of messages that I used to always keep on my desk towards the end as we're heading towards Judd's side of things. So value add. In summary from last week, I just wanted to remember a couple of the wonderful comments from David Park. And so out of 10, you get 9 kicks in the bum and 1 lick of the ice cream. And I think it's true that we tend to focus on the one negative and not all the, the one positive and not all the negatives. So, but I think what we tried to do is make sure you celebrate. Every time you do get that lick of the ice cream, celebrate it for as long as you can and then get back on your horse the next day and go for it. When you think you've made it, you're on the way down. If you look at the little graph on the right-hand side there, remember just before selling our business, our CEO sort of asked me, where do you think we're on that curve? And we were lucky enough to sell just before the top point. I noticed that little slide there, fancy a drink. Well, if you get it wrong and you're on the other side and you're sliding down when the competition comes and you start losing market share, you'll certainly know about it. So I think it's really important to make sure you keep driving forward. We talked last week about startup, rapid growth and value add, and particularly in startup going for rapid fire, take on anything. Then with rapid growth, you looked at what was making you the money and tried to sell that more often. And then value add, trying to work out where is the profitability. So managing for profit, not market share. Looking very closely at our sales funnel, costs, operational control, and then building into that your financial management tools. We talked about some of the ones in Camp Australia. You'll have your own, but making sure you're aware of what is the data that's driving your business. We also talked about a shift in the mindset. Early stages of business, every cost is watched, but now you've got to move towards investment and looking at what are the key value drivers. Have you been able to McDonaldise your business to build systems for scale? Eliminate the drift by making sure your teams are aware of the direction you're going, the alignment and the rhythm. Providing two-down management so you're not losing IP if people leave the business. Building financial hygienes into the business, not using your business as an ATM. Trying to build long-term contracts with customers to ensure that revenue is protected. And then we talked about sharing profits, being able to bring a senior leadership management team on and share the business with them. This slide brought back a lot of memories for my father, our chairman. I think said to us on many occasions through the last decade, particularly, you're now in the final straight. Now ram at home, and he used to talk about the Melbourne Cup. And it's I think all those horse goers out there, 3,200 metres. It seems like a massive, long race compared to the sprints. Funny thing is, we kept thinking we're near the end line, but something else would prop up, and we felt we were back at the 3/4 mark. So you can see where those horses are coming around the bend there. You are in the final straight when you're adding significant value and thinking about selling your business or towards exit. But just remember, there's so much more to do before you get to that final straight. But it is a good image, and I remember asking my dad on very many occasions, geez, Dad, I thought we were nearly there. He said, no, well, you're still in the final straight. So we just kept going until the end. I was thinking about through as we built our team, Ant mentioned being more selfless and bringing people in and allowing their growth. I just thought about that snowball effect. When we were in the final stages of our business, I almost felt like the snowball had rolled so far down the hill that in spite of us, it was growing rapidly and we could do nothing about it. It was where we wanted it to head, but we weren't the ones now rolling that snowball. But then I looked at all these different pictures through the course of my preparation for today. And that very first one on the left, when it seems so heavy and you're out in the middle of the snowfield and you're pushing that snowball yourself, then you get some help in my second slide there. Somebody, your first appointment or a second, you're growing your team. Sometimes you're in the middle of a rolling snowball and you think all these things are going wrong. How do I get it to be a perfect shape? Sometimes in the bottom left one, you're running, you think the snowball's going to hit you, you're trying to get out of the way and you're wondering how big is this beast becoming? And then all of a sudden you've realised that the people that you've employed and supported and grown with are helping push and roll, and in the end you get this big happy moment. I thought we could add a little bit of guitar and song for the end of a snowball when you finally exit a business that's done so successfully well. So it was an image for me as when you are adding value, significant value, that's just not you anymore pushing that snowball. We had choices to make as we were growing our business, and I must preface this by saying that my bias was towards organic growth. It was all the way to the end, but I'm significantly aware that many businesses grow and add significant value by merging and acquiring other businesses. So I wanted to touch on that briefly today. Our organic growth was because we're in a fast growing industry. We had a franchise-like model, and we competed hard against all the other operators, and we didn't feel that we needed to acquire any other businesses or merge with any other businesses, albeit that we had significant opportunity through particularly the last phases. Touching on a few of those points, what's right for you? And as I said at the start, for us, it was to continue organic growth, but we had a lot of guidance from our advisory board. I say that because there is experiential wisdom that's gained from people who've either acquired or merged or gone it themselves over the time. And we had 3 or 4 board members that had merged quite heavily with other businesses. My father had a business that was growing rapidly with international takeovers. And at the very bottom, he kept saying to me, 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 3. We had to look at the downside potential risks to reputation and value. The second point there is your growth fast enough and tracking towards your BHAG. Ours was, we were growing in the fourth point there, the compound average growth rate. We were at about 23% over the last 5 years. So we felt our rapid growth was happening fast enough for us to keep control of, rather than bringing other parts, moving parts into our business. You've also got to look at debt and cash flow. How are you structured? We were lucky enough to gain some advice from Tim Donahue and Paul Donahue early in our careers, our board members, about trying to run the business without debt. And again, I'm aware of the different financial levers you can use to run a business. We didn't have any upfront costs, so we could run our business largely on cash flow. But you've got to look at what your risk profile is. And certainly when you're taking on debt and acquiring other businesses, are you ready for that structurally and also personally? In the green slide, what is your culture and how would it change? What are the two merging businesses' values? Do you know the owners? Do you know the other people? So even though there might be a strategic reason for competition or to decrease competition or increase your operative output, decrease cost, increase margin, these are all the benefits that you can see, but you really have to look at what are the relationships with other business owners that will come into the business. How will that structure be moving forward? How would it work? What role would you play? What role would your other senior managers play? We've all heard of the success stories and some of the failures. So when I preface this slide, it's not saying one way or the other. We chose organic growth, and for us, it was completely successful all the way through to the end. In fact, I knew towards the last couple of years when there was significant opportunity in private equity to buy our competitors, I really had to ask myself, one of the major points was taking on debt and how would it change my life, and was I ready for that? And, you know, did I ultimately know over the many years the other people, and was I prepared to share that? I was in business with my brother for 30 years and that was hard enough, and but let alone bringing on other people that you didn't know. So just a very brief on mergers and acquisitions. And I said from the top, I think the experiential wisdom from people like Stefan and others that have been through and seen other businesses merge and acquire would be worth doing before you went down that route. Protecting and growing wealth and health. Last week we talked about the value drivers, and these were some of the things that I held dear to us towards the end. We had an opportunity to sell down our business over 20 years, many times, sometimes from a position of real weakness. And it sounded attractive to maybe pay off your mortgage or get out early because you just didn't know when that snowball was going to grow so big that it was going to be successful. But I'm here to say, if you can hold on long enough and never give up and believe, Anthony and I never sold down in our shareholding, and the value that was created on exit was far beyond our wildest dreams. So I would encourage business owners never to sell down their shareholding. Yes, share, but make sure that you hold strong to the baby and the dream that you created at the start, and put all your risk into running this, because you will get many offers and many people trying to do things that may not be in your best interest. I'd be more than happy to take questions on that through the journey, as many of these topics can raise some interest for people. Share senior management. I talked about that in bonus schemes and B-class shareholding. But I do want to make a point that one of our board members said, no one mucks around with the business. It is the vital source of income for all of us. And as our business grew from 1 to 2 to 10 to 200 and thousands of people in the field, we were very responsible and felt that responsibility to all the people. Even between Anthony and I in our shareholding at 50-50, we always collaborated, we always agreed. We had our disagreements about different directions, but we always agreed and came out with a position of strength moving forward with our senior team and then all the way down. And if you've got anyone in your business trying to take the business in a direction, or the money, or doing things that aren't in the right way, please correct that quickly. So no one mucks with the business, because is it the life source of our livelihood? I'll just to the next point. Aim to remove yourself. This is really hard. Everyone talks about, work on your business, not work in it. And I used to, for 20 odd years, I'd hear that at every meeting I'd go to, and then straight away you're back into the operative mire of the business every day. And it is very difficult. But I know if you're working towards adding value, building senior management team, get out of the way of the business. Try not to own every part of it. I remember my CEO made sure that I stopped personally answering every email, as an example, as a way to start removing myself from what was perceived to be the value of the business. So that Anthony and I in the end could look potential acquirers in the eye, as they did with the private equity that ended up buying us, that we were not the value of the business. Us personally, we were not the value of the business. So as you move towards exit, look at ways that the business's value is owned by itself and not you personally. I would say that you can try and create wealth outside of your business with retained profits, dividends. Be disciplined about that. And as Anth mentioned at the start, possibly start a foundation or look at giving back. I read a book called Do the Most Good You Can Do. So you don't have to have a foundation or you don't have to have a percentage of profits, but you can do small parts in your business or outside of your business and start helping you and your family by giving back. And lastly, one part that I don't think I personally got right in the latter part of our business as it grew rapidly is, how are you looking after your personal well-being balance? I know Judd will talk and why we've been able to complement this business seminar series with the mental side of life. But I think family, friends, community, exercise, meditation, all the things I've been asked recently when I've been talking in my mentorship with the BHAG and this rapid growth and what sort of a ride are you on? And one thing that you have to remember in this is that you've got to take personal care, because it is fast, rapid, it is a lot of fun, but it is largely stressful. Any business is stressful, but I want to make sure that I can give back some wisdom that I didn't have at the time to look after yourself personally in any particular way you can find that. So just in conclusion, for the last couple of slides for me for today, as I enter next week towards exit, I wanted to think about, well, how can we maximize value towards exit? What are we, after all, we have choice. We want time and choice in our life. As people who work, business owners or employees, we'd all like to be on a weekend every day where we have time and choice. And sometimes we don't see the wood through the tree. So start looking at the business as ways you can add value without you personally doing a 60 and 80 hours in it. Also, determining what lifestyle you want to lead. Is your business at the size that allows you to move away and live the particular lifestyle that you want it to lead? Obviously, planning occurs well before a sale, maximising value drivers. Build financial hygiene now. Don't wait for the end, because any particular group looking at your business will pick it apart and it will erode value if you do not have financial hygiene set in your business. Proper CFO, proper audits. Don't use your business as an ATM. Make sure that it's clean. And then next week, a couple of questions I'd like to ponder for you. Why would you consider selling? What are your selling drivers? Are you selling from a position of strength? Anthony and I went to a seminar with David Smorgan from the Smorgan family, and he talked about the struggles within their family. But they all got together in a room and they came out to the media and said, we're selling from a position of strength. And I'll never forget that. There are many opportunities that people will try and buy you out early. But if you're feeling that that's not a position of strength, then I'd consider taking your time and make sure you're building all the values in the correct way. And some fun to finish for me. In leadership, I think part of the thing I thought about last week after our summary, I was talking to my wife actually, said, surely part of the mentoring and giving back is about leadership. What is the role we play as a business owner? It took us years to build a senior management team, and Anthony mentioned at the start, this selflessness. Ensure that you're empowering your team, not trying to dominate or own them or do everything. Your guide is to be positive, build the culture and the values and be positive about that. To value the people and their contribution, really value them. Thank them in many ways, personal letters. It goes a long way in valuing people, and Anthony's mentioned there's a few Camp Australia people on these conference calls now. We'd hope to think that that was part of what we did over the journey. Encourage when things are tough. It is your role to stand up as a leader. One of the questions last week is during COVID, do you get your hands dirty again, get back into business? Absolutely you do. You're the last port of call, so you've got to be the encouragement when things get tough. To listen. We've got two ears and one mouth and use them in proportion. I can say that took me a long time to learn that one. Remain unrelenting in your direction, but certainly take on all the feedback. Worst thing about a leader is that you just don't listen and it's all your way or the highway. The new wave of management and leadership is make sure we open up to great ideas. And I love this little cartoon. I had up on my office wall for years and years, Never Give Up, with the frog just about down the pelican's throat, but it's there. And I can tell you, we were in many occasions when this was a point where we felt we just couldn't go on, but we never gave up. I had 2 other points on my wall. Be positive, energy giver, not an energy drainer. Think about your attitude around your office, around the people, around your family. Are you surrounding yourself with people who give you energy or drain your energy? It was another one of David Parkin's gold little mottos for me, and I'll never forgive that. So try to make sure that you're emanating the energy, smiling, your body language. Even when things are tough, it is your role as a leader to provide that energy. And I'll finish with a fun note that I know that's going to lead into Judd's messages. This one for me was an absolute classic, a Peanuts cartoon that I loved, and there's a very deep and good message in this one. This is my depressed stance. When you're depressed, it makes a lot of difference how you stand. The worst thing in the world you can do is stand up and hold your head up tall, because then you're going to start feeling better. So if you're going to get any joy out of being depressed, you've got to stand with your head down. So guys, keep your head up, keep your chin up. COVID's tough. Never give up. Hopefully some takeaways today as we lead towards exit next week. And I thank Anth for the opportunity, and I'll hand it over to Stefan.
Thanks, Andrew. As Andrew's coming out of the slides there and screen share, that'd be great. Look, you know, what an awesome set of messaging, what an awesome set of sharing as it relates to, you know, Anthony and Andrew going on a journey, being at a place of, I guess, heightened level of, I guess, you know, so many years of work and effort and learnings and disciplines, and there they are, where they all of a sudden are at the highest point and are very attractive to people who want to pay a big price for the hard work that creates a predictable for profit entity, an organisation, an enterprise, a place of business, a place where people not only came with their best intentions but made significant impact. And every one of us on this call, every one of us that has the courage to step up and run a business, lead a team, make a difference, serve clients, solve problems, take ownership of other people's issues and frustrations and help them get to the other side as it relates to solutions and ultimately desires and problems solved. It takes a formidable human being and a group of human beings, otherwise known as a team, to ultimately have the impact as it relates to the journey called business. So when it comes to business, the first and most important place of impact is always you. It always starts with you, the human being, and the acceptance that you are on a journey. The journey, let's call it a journey that ultimately equals, sounds like, rhymes with a word called success. And success is not an event. Success is definitely something that has its own level of, if you want it, here it is, come and get it. So you've got to be okay to continuously, I guess, Sun Tzu says it the best in the book, The Art of War. Victory is reserved for those that are prepared to pay its price. Impact. What is the impact that you wish to make to them? Them ultimately is, and foremost, your team. If you are not making impact, positive impact, vulnerable, truthful, hey, I don't have all the answers, but what if we put our collective heads together? What could we do that's better than what we did yesterday? So the impact you have in empowering your team, the impact your team have on impacting the customers, and ultimately the legacy that becomes, the reputation that becomes, the go-to place that your business, regardless of product or service, that you have an opportunity to make an impact, be known for. It doesn't matter whether it's in a bubble called, you know, eastern suburbs of Melbourne, whether it's Victoria, whether it's Australia, or dare me say, the world. There is never ever a glass ceiling as it relates to business. And the only glass ceiling is the glass ceiling as it relates to you. But how are you actually making impacts that get out of your own way and allow this thing to flow? Success is a journey. The most successful thing about the journey is the person you become, the influencer you become. And as it relates to business, no different to life. You get to choose what it is that you are putting your maximum energy and efforts, and ultimately where you are making impact. In life, there are 3 phases of goals, and this is not age related. And in many cases it is. This is more about maturity and understanding the crossroads as it relates to life. The first phase of goals, and this is the systemic journey as it relates to becoming a more attractive person, a more successful person, a person that people wish to listen to and or learn from and or be surrounded by. The first phase of goals in life and in business is what we call the negative goals. How is it that you are moving away from the first set of goals once you get serious about the journey in life and business, or whatever you may deem to be your job and or career? Makes no difference. It's where you make your living. You move away from things that are not serving you or the impact you wish to make. I'll use the black one because it's a bit easier to read in the flip chart. So negative goals are the goals that we all decide at some point we need to move away from. The second phase, and this is an unbelievable phase, because your confidence, your belief, your self-awareness, your ability to not only give but also receive feedback is starting to grow. You don't have all the answers, but my God, your questions are getting better. This is your positive goals. This is your positive goals phase where you are now moving towards things. You know why you're moving towards things? Because you know you can. You're starting to crack the code of what is possible, and therefore the confidence, the belief, the impact of making a difference, layer by layer by layer, is starting to work in synergy and in leverage, and you're building structures and leverage and designing a game that you can win. Designing a game that you could win. No truer words ever spoken as it relates to success. Positive goal setting. That is the second phase of goals in our life, regardless what age. But at some point, something clicks and you realize bouncing one really good ball is better than trying to bounce 5 or 6. And therefore, being the master of one is way better than being the mediocre of many. Positive goal setting. The third phase of goals, and this is really, when we've just listened to Andrew share what he's just shared, the experience, the walk, the talk, the ability to do it and say it and pay it and ultimately live it. It's the giving back. The third phase of goals in our life as we make impact is the giving back goal phase. And this is where, if you think about what we're doing here this afternoon as it relates to the September Super Series, this is about each one of us that has so much experience and expertise. We are actually giving back. We have over 130 individuals and or organisations in some way or another subscribe to what is a giving back initiative, and we are hoping and wishing and certainly looking for feedbacks and questions as it relates to today's sharing. But the whole series thus far, it's all about giving back. When you think about what Andrew is sharing as it relates to the business that Andrew and Anthony built over so many years, so many times to go to the edge, and they had a choice. We either fly or we die. They flew because they backed themselves in every single time, surrounded themselves with better people every single time. And I love the fact that Andrew just shared, you never mess with the business. The business is not the golden goose that you go and chop its neck off to realise, oh shit, there's no more golden eggs there. So the giving back phase is one of the most glorious and rewarding phases in life. As my first mentor taught me at the age of 24, he said to me, Stefan, learn to save and ultimately give back 3 cents in every dollar. Now, when I was making $100 a week, I thought, who am I going to help with $3 an hour? $3 as a result of that. When I got to understand the 3% rule, the 5% rule, the 10% rule, and let's just say my income and my earnings and my value continued to grow over the years, 3% and 5% of something much larger feeds a village, not just the person in the village anymore. So negative goals, positive goals, giving back goals. And in life, no different to in business, you always get what you deserve. There's a positive statement there. The formula for life success. It's also the formula for life transformation. And you know, in Australia, we don't invest, we don't spend, we don't put time aside to be really clear about our purpose, our dreams. Our dreams are one of the most important things that in Australia we have such an upside, such an opportunity to make impact with. Why? Because it's one of the best countries in the world. And if you can succeed in Australia as an individual, as an organisation, as a company, as an enterprise, you can succeed anywhere in the world. So what are your dreams on a personal level, on a entrepreneurial level, on a career level, on a, hey, I'm on a health level, on a experiential level, on a spiritual level? What are your dreams? Be really clear with that. Invest more time in understanding this, and ultimately when you understand this, you have an opportunity to go and set some goals, the moving away from, the moving towards, and the giving back. Ultimately, everything is timeline. Everything needs to be specific. Everything needs to be measurable. Everything needs to be achievable, results orientated and time frame, otherwise known as SMART goals. But goals, dreams multiplied by goals. And if you actually put the time and the investment into creating a plan, for which the plan is not the miracle, the planning and the thought process, the critical thinking time as it relates to what are my dreams, what are my purpose, what is the impact I wish to make, what am I moving away from, moving towards to, and ultimately giving back. And then give me a plan which ultimately on a daily basis has actions for which I am either accountable to or I am not. Something that happened this week that shouldn't have happened, let me get clear about that. Something that didn't happen that should have happened, let me get clear about that, otherwise known as the gap. The way we transform our opportunity and make impact at such a higher level, with not everything needing to be on our shoulders, is all about understanding what is my true magnet, what is the true purpose, what is my true north, and ultimately what are my subset goals that have a plan, that ultimately have actions. And guess what? You are definitely moving towards and ultimately getting to that unbelievable and sacred stage in life where you could give back in such a more impactful sort of way. So that's my sharing here this afternoon. As it relates to impact, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Anthony mentioned very early the importance and the impact of PD, otherwise known as personal development. Power to every one of you and the impact you are currently making in whatever you have chosen to be the journey in doing that. Over to Judd. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Hello, everybody. Great to see you again, so to speak. I'm presenting again on impact, as the others have been, and I'm going to share my screen with you now. Let's get it up. Okay, so let's go through presentation mode. All right, so today we're talking about a big question around impact, a big question about sense of self, purpose. We're talking about, are we who we want to be? We're talking about what are the elements that build our personal collective capacity for basically for performance, for value, and for resilient well-being. This is the point of today's session. All the guys are talking about this. At the end of the day, we are forging our impact. We are creating our legacy. Our choices actually give us the capacity to do good, to create that trickle-on effect. One of the first things we think about when we're looking at the elements that help forge this impact is our awareness, our ability to, I suppose, observe, our ability to perceive things, to understand what's going on from a sensory perspective, to be able to listen, to be able to understand what other people need as well, to be aware of other people's needs, our openness to other people's suggestions. We are not an island, as the guys were saying. Stefan was talking about the village mentality. We have to be open to other people's needs, other people's suggestions. As the other guys said too, we are not the be all and end all of all things. No matter how good we think we are, we can be made better by connecting with others. So we have to be open to that. We have to be courageous enough to let other people influence us as well. The next thing is this clarity. Just making sure that we've got that clarity. And then that helps us move on to knowledge. And knowledge is a really big thing for us. Because without knowledge, we don't have the capacity. And capacity is one of the big things I love to talk about. Your ability to affect change, your ability to influence others is based on your knowledge, based on your confidence. So when we look at knowledge, we look at things like, how are you able to understand what is needed? To understand what you need to do to create an outcome. When you look at understanding knowledge, you look at mind and body. Andrew was talking about posture. I go on and on about posture when I'm dealing with people, not because it makes us look more attractive aesthetically necessarily, although it does. It's all about feedback. It's all about presenting yourself in the way that you choose to, that you want to. There's no point trying to portray a powerful image and standing like Charlie Brown in that image. At the end of the day, we need to put our best foot forward if it's the best foot that we want to present. If we have a message we want to convey the message clearly using all of our assets. Posture, voice, tone, choice of language. All of these things are tools. So being aware of that. I run this Cognicise Foundation and I choose the word Cognicise because it's living a cognitive life, being aware of your choices and taking advantage of opportunities using those choices. So we also talk about form and function. Postures like that. Understand how the body works, understand how it's put together, and then using that knowledge to actually improve its ability to perform and improve its ability to care for you. And we look at our ability to learn. A lot of us are really quite stubborn. A lot of us are actually quite closed. We look at growth mindset, that concept, the ability to be organic. As Andrew said, organic growth in his business, the ability to react, the ability to learn, to notice. Are we teachable? Lots of the students, lots of the individuals that I train, from your average Joe Blow all the way through to national athletes, I look for trainability. It's very, very difficult to improve someone if they won't let you, if they're a closed box. And business is the same. Be able to be trained, be able to be taught, be open to suggestion. The next thing we look at is investment. It's how much you're willing to put into yourself, how much you're willing to put into the team, to your business. It's your grit. Yeah, we've heard the word grit. I love the word grit. We look at this image. I mean, to get to this beautiful position that this lady's in requires a massive amount of investment. Time, working through pain, working through belief, self-belief, doubt. I mean, the suffering that it takes sometimes, as I said before about the licking of the ice cream and the kicks in the butt, at the end of the day, you've got to be prepared to put in. And that takes courage, plus discipline, plus resilience, and finally determination. You have to have all these aspects in your business of self. Remembering micro, macro, that we are the micro version of what we hope to portray. If you don't want to portray what you are, there's going to be a mismatch. In the end of the day, you have to stand for what you're trying to portray. Otherwise, risk getting found out, and that creates confusion. At the end of the day, try and push your best foot forward all the time. Micro, macro. Manage your own business to manage the big business. The next thing I talk about is vision. Have the vision. Right? Take your knowledge. Take all those aspects of grit. Take all those aspects of sensitivity and awareness and create a vision of purpose. Create something that's going to impact and, I suppose, make this world a better place. Value add. You look at your goals. You look at your motivations. Shoot for excellence in everything that you do. The food that you eat, the way that you sleep, as I've talked about every session, the way that you stand, the way that you speak, this is all marketing. We are a billboard, and we want to represent excellence. We want to represent value. I say a lot, that we want to build capacity and then give it away. Value is the primary economy. What value can we add to others? What value can we represent in ourselves and provide for others through ourselves and through our business, the business that we align with, the people that we align with? Then you look at respect, our ability to respect others, to respect the process, to respect our choices and other people's choices, which requires patience. It requires humility. We are, as Anthony said, not the be-all and end-all. Yeah? We see ourselves as part of everything, not everything. The humility to be able to step back. And then empathy. Understand what other people might be going through, at least listen and try and understand what they're going through. This is the perfect time during COVID. Some of us might be actually doing quite well. This might have been a fantastic opportunity for us to excel, to flourish. Others are struggling just to survive. That empathetic ability gives us the ability to communicate, gives us that sense of connection with others, builds trust. The ability to love. It's not something that we just keep behind closed doors. Love is not something that we keep to the lights off moments. Love is something that we share openly with people, that we share openly with concepts. People that are struggling, we provide a way to allow our business, the business of ourselves and the business of our business, to actually value add and to support, showing a sense of love for the total community, giving back. Finally, impact, our positive capacity to achieve, our positive capacity to inspire, support, and influence. This defines our value to ourselves and to others. This is the big point. So if your business has a positive capacity, if you look at, when you have your meetings, if you look at your ability to achieve, inspire, support, and influence the market, other people, communities, this ultimately provides, gone the wrong way. This ultimately provides life's ultimate challenge, our legacy, and I would argue our reward. At the end of the day, our ability to influence others in a positive way gives us the ability to create a strong, cultural effect that in the end is the most rewarding thing that we can offer. So the other guys talked about, Anthony talked about be prepared to make a play. He talked about key actions. I've just written them down here. He talked about a growth mindset, as I did, and it was enforced by Andrew, who talked about the collective value. And this is what we're really talking about in these sessions. And we really hope to inspire you guys to pass on and create that domino effect. Yeah. So in the end, we're trying to build excellence, forge success. That's what business is all about. And then when we've got it, when we're so proud of what we've done, give it, share it. Enjoy working hard, enjoy striving for success, and live an inspirational life. That's what we're trying to do. Smallest tiny bits all the way through to the big bits, micro and macro. Okay, thanks for listening. And your turn, my friend. I'll stop sharing. There we go.
Back again, and there's a great session again, guys. Well, very well done. Certainly took a lot out of that, and yeah, it was definitely love some of Andrew's points there on the value add, the double value as those board members and getting the great advice off them, and just not second guessing yourself, just getting really thinking through and doing our research before we made very big decisions as they got bigger numbers and values and financially. Protecting that well, always protecting your business at all costs. I think like Stefan was saying, like it's just the golden baby there. You don't mess with the business. It's its own entity, and everyone's just you can feed from that and get a life from that and get value from that, but you don't mess with the structure of what's built it to get it where it is. And I think that one Andrew said about not being reliant on the owners or the senior managers, just building that team so you share that load, and that stops what Judd's trying to help us well with, not getting overstressed physically or mentally. Like, being able to delegate and monitor. And it was a big one Andrew mentioned too, with our chairman saying that one, more thinking and planning, less acting and doing as you build it and add the value. And creating time and choices. I think that's what Andrew and I have learned by, doing all that hard work, 30 years and, working 24/7, and it's quite very exhausting and a lot of ups and downs, a lot of stresses, mortgaging houses, bank, not being able to get bank loans to pay payroll a couple of Friday afternoons. I mean, it wasn't all roses. It was extreme. There was extreme times where we just wanted to get out of it and take away the pain, take away the stress of it. But I think, as Andrew said, I think our deep belief and our upbringing in sport in particular, as I refer back to with impacting, is that we'll determine our destiny, whether that's up or down, or we win or we lose, we'll drive each other. And I think that was probably, one of the biggest combinations that we had. We kept pushing each other, week by week. Adding the social impact, I think, is huge. I think all speakers have talked about that, and that's that, legacy and giving back. If you can do it on the way, like we did with the Cognicise Foundation, I think was a really good thing. Our community loved that. Schools got on board, parents, kids. So it wasn't just a corporate transaction. They knew that we were respectful of doing something bigger for their local communities and also around, the rural and remote parts of Australia and internationally, where we help build some schools and supply a lot of educational products to schools overseas, etc. I think that point on Andrew too, I think we really hit that one with a few years to go, really strong auditing, taking our accounting and our business sort of governance to the next level. It was just incredible in the way the COOs and the CIO and the CEO really drove to those very even higher standards that we probably ever thought it could go to. Was pretty amazing in the end. I still think a really important thing was just known at the ground level too, like pressing back in. I know John Bell-Morbid, one of our board members, used to say, hey, things are going a bit south or not so good, press back in, press back, find out what's going on. And we did that with our CEO, with Adam at times too, where we played a bit of undercover boss, and Liz and I travelled around Australia, and we just pop in, with our uniforms on, and some of those staff that we had so many thousands, as Andrew said, didn't know who we were. So we'd ask questions and we'd check the safety, the way they greeted, the way the kids were looked after, all that sort of thing. So they're all little things that, we could always keep our eye right at the grassroots and report back to keep the value high. I think Stefan's great points, the 3 phases of goals, there are negative things. And as Judd said, we do. A lot of things go around in our mind, and some negative or can't do or sabotaging sort of thoughts come in. But, to be able to really stop those in their tracks and get really focused. And I say smash it back with positives, one negative, smash it back with 5 positives straight away. It is a good little tool to use. And that life success formula, dreams, goals, plans. And I think, as Andrew, we just had to act. You just got to keep acting, and it's got to be meaningful, quality, prioritized actions, not just any old things. You've got to really narrow down what's most important right now. Was really big. Judd, you can all listen to Judd all day long. It's just fantastic. That awareness in others, like we did all the Herman brain and just to make sure as we got more staff and managers, we're all different. We all think different, left side, right side, different outlooks on different things, even people in the same, how do the finance team speak to the marketing team? This entrepreneurial out there front of house type group virtually with the back room counting, making sure all the figures and the profits and the numbers were there, but how are they going to integrate and work together? So we did a lot of work around all that sort of stuff too, in that human aspect. And knowledge was king. As you said, being coachable, teachable was the key thing. Most of our staff that were like that really progressed. Like I said about Rosa, like they're open to knowledge, open to getting better, open to PD, and investing in yourself, mate. That's the huge thing. Respecting yourself and looking after yourself, and then really, helping, respect others. That's the real key thing. I think I love that line too, Judd. You said manage your own business to then manage the bigger business. So, all your own issues and things that are going on in your own life. You've got to get those managed and well sorted, so you can be really clear when you go in and be focused on that golden egg, which is your business, or the business you're working for. So thanks for all those insightful points. There was a couple of questions there as we were going through, and we'll just have a look. Gee, they're all stacking up now. How do I get clarity on my purpose? Stefan, do you want to have a crack at that one?
Well, yeah, I guess, there's no rules as to what an individual's purpose needs to be. So there's no, I think the first thing in my experience is you don't need to be someone else. You don't need to, if I meet someone who has a greater dream about my life than I do about my life, I've got a problem. So clarity around your purpose is taking a stock on how do you view your life. If I gave you 30 hours more a week that were during Monday to Friday, what would you do with those 30 hours? That's one way to figure out some clarity around, what is your purpose? Where are you going? If I was to think about if I was to write my obituary. So my first mentor taught me, and I think I may have shared this in private with you, Anthony. My first mentor taught me at the age of 28, write your first obituary at the age of 30, and every milestone birthday, write a new one, but never get rid of the old one. How do you want people to view you? Not for what you are, but for who you are. That's an amazing way of getting clarity about your purpose. Write your death note a couple of times in life to realise, wow, okay. So clarity about purpose, there's no rules around it. It's the restrictions we put upon ourselves that need to be eliminated.
Great one. And there's one here from Jeanette. Thanks, Jeanette. To Andrew, you spoke about surrounding yourself with others who have energy, which I believe I've done and have got so much out of that, but finding this much more difficult when working remotely. But today's session has been great, provided lots of energy. Thanks to us all. Looking forward to meeting with the people again. Ongoing energy. Yeah. Oh, no, I think that was really a big positive there. Thank you for that. Just pull back up to the top there.
While you're looking there, Anthony, I'll ask Andrew a question. So, Andrew, I think curiosity will certainly be rising for many of our participants here as it relates to selling at the highest point, selling at the right time, exiting or having exit ability at the right time. As it relates to your journey and your, I guess, I would say healthy battle with, is this the right time? Because, I've been there a couple of times in my own right. What is it that went through? What was the process for you to know the final time was the right time? This is it. We're in exit ability big time.
Oh, geez, Stefan, that's all of my next week's presentation.
Oh, you give us a sneak peek on it then, man.
Yeah, I'd be delighted to. I think the comment that was made before, Anthony, if I could just touch on that before answering Stefan, is that I'm sitting on an advisory board of a business at the moment that has hundreds and hundreds of staff, possibly thousands, and I've been super impressed by the care of the value of the people, by their ongoing contact points with them. They've got a weekly, survey. They've been asking them for all of their personal feelings, their work feelings. Do they want to come back to the office? Do they not? How are they feeling with their family, etc. So it's just been really super impressive. And it just reminded me that when we did a review of staff, and when you look at salary and people, it was really interesting for me to learn that the number one thing about employees feeling valued.
Okay.
And so if I talk about the point that was raised in here on when times get tough or when the leader needs to come back in and present, and sure, we've all had those points. I can actually honestly say you look back at the resilience built from the tougher times are far greater than the successes of the good times. The joy to look back and say what we built and how tough it was. So in just reviewing that point, I think if you can reach out during these COVID times in this way that we've done, we're getting a lot of the love that Judd talks about just by the fact that the registrations and feedback from people. So to me, community, connection, reaching out and valuing others. And one point in there I saw is about how do you leave the ego in their back pocket? And it takes us a lifetime to learn this. Judd's probably got a whole hour on this. And I believe it's one of our strongest areas for all of us to understand our ego. Where is it used really well, and where do we need to keep it under control in the back pocket? And to Stefan, to the point about when is the right time, I've got a number of points next week that I'm going to make on everybody's different, of course. Now, there's financial outcome that is absolutely paramount, because every business is right to say, well, this is my baby, and when is the right time to maximise that value and get what otherwise might be 10 to 15 years worth of profit up front. So there's a key driver, is got to be thinking with your head, not your heart, because everyone's got their baby, the thing that forms their life. Pretty much, if you're a business owner, it becomes your life. So you are identified by the business, in the business. Everything about some of your psyche is definitely attached to the business. Like Anthony used to say, you never leave it 24/7. Even if you're on a holiday, you're always thinking about how you can do better. So I think it definitely the financial position of the business. And when I was looking at that bell curve, certainly being aware of the environment. What business are you in? Have you got tailwinds or headwinds? Where's the competition at? Where's society at? They're parts of getting advice from really smart people around you. Culturally, you have to look at your life. You have to ask yourself some of those serious questions. Are you getting out of bed every day with a passion and a purpose for this particular thing, or has that waned over a period of time? When you sit and think about that, and Anthony and I did a lot of that during our yin and yang over particularly last decade and 5 years, you do come to a very clear position on that. And you don't have to, there's truth and there's in your heart about that. You don't have to ask yourself too far, am I getting out of bed, passionately driving to the office? There are a number of other parts to the answer to that question. But, I think if you look at the first parts, definitely a financial and a personal, and I'll add on that next week too, Stefan.
Andrew, Alex Baker, he's got a great question there, and I think it is a good one. Many startups are being urged to raise money in order to grow faster. Looking back, do you think it was a good strategy? What was your rationale not to go down that path, as we didn't borrow a cent in our time, but there were some reasons there, but you might want to add something to that, Andrew.
Yeah, one of our board members used to say, nothing like a debt to get on your bike in the morning. And he was John Valmorbiter, and had businesses all around the world. But, with debt comes significant responsibility to pay back somebody. Again, countering that, Tim Donahue and Paul, who were our financial advisors, one of the things that Paul, who's no longer with us, was always encouraging us not to take on debt, the strength of the business without debt. And I've since learned through the journey that there is the right time, particularly now with low interest rates. There is the right time for healthy debt with the right checks and balances with the financial team and the right cash flow management. We were lucky enough to have an organic business that was growing with a positive cash flow. We didn't have infrastructure spending. We didn't need equipment, plant and equipment. So and Stefan will see this in various businesses. Every business different. I got a best mate of mine runs a business with civil engineering, massive infrastructure costs on equipment, trucks, you name it. So I think it horses for courses, but and also personality. Our conservative approach and some of our learnings was to treat money with the ultimate respect, and with so doing, you have a healthy balance. And I honestly think that managing debt, if I look at all of the publicly listed companies today and looking at fundamental value and who you would put your money in as an equity, you are looking at the balance sheet. What are they doing, and what is their debt structure? There's one key driver, and if they're not in control of that, it's a sure way for us to look away from investing in that particular business.
Yeah, I might just throw one to Judd too, in these times it's unusual, and it's a lot of people losing jobs or on job keepers, job seekers and all those sort of things, and it's not going to be the same landscape. Those that are running business or in positions that may be threatened in their businesses. Is there some simple tools? I'm always practical. Us teachers there's a couple of simple tools, and I think when Andrew and I are at our most stressful point, we never had any. I don't think really any sort of mind body sort of tools to use. And now that I know of a lot now, I wish I had them like 20 years ago. But is there a couple of simple things you could give to anyone still on the line there?
Dozens and dozens and dozens. And I think just before I actually just give you a couple, because I know we've got to finish, I just wanted to really quickly add something to what Andrew was saying before about, selling and all sorts of stuff. At the end of the day, a lot of our thoughts are manipulated and modified by our sense of well-being, whether it's ourselves individually or as a business. So when the business is unwell, when we're unwell, we tend to be reactive. We tend to be a bit more pessimistic. We tend to be knee-jerky. We tend to look for quick souls or look for other people, invest in other people rather than take responsibility. All these things happen as a reflection of our own health as well. And as I said last week, I talked about allowing emotions to follow rather than lead is really important, both as a business and as yourself. Right now, it's really prevalent that we actually follow that advice. Right now, when things are difficult for us, we need to pull our resources back into the creation and maintenance of health and well-being. So we do our breathing exercises, we do our postural exercises, we get ourselves fit, we create rituals that are doable and maintainable. And we use those rituals to reinforce our ability to make clear and conscious choices. And sometimes we don't even notice that we're doing it, but the fitter we feel, the less sleep we need, the less emotional we become, the more reliable we become and predictable we become. And in the end, the more seamlessly we can operate, both as an individual and as part of a team. So although it's sort of we're over time as it is, I would advise you to go back to your normal things, go back to things like your yoga, go back to things like breathing exercises, giving the kids a cuddle, spending some time stretching, clarifying the mind, focusing on something that isn't necessarily to do with the bottom line, that's more to do with your ability to find peace and clarity and that quiet space. From that quiet space, that empowering space, then engaging with society and then re-engaging with problems and coming back with a fresher, clearer, stronger perspective.
Well said.
Beautiful.
Fantastic. I think we're just about down with the questions. Yeah. I think we've pretty much covered most of the ones that came in today there. So I think we're coming up to about 1:10. So we'll wind it up, I think, there today. I'm looking forward to session 5 next Wednesday. And we might have a look at adapting and surviving. It's obviously a difficult time, but also we'll be touching on sale and exit and preparing businesses for you to move on and to do other things in life, whether that's you exiting or the business in totality being sold. And stuff beyond work, things that we can do from our business experience and what we gain from that. The last session, we gave an open forum. We've got a guest speaker, one of the board members who helped sell our business too, Tim Donoghue, will speak, and his expertise in that world of finance and the share market and the economic situation really for Australia and the US and the world currently. And he's got some great things to share with us. So stay tuned for the next couple of Wednesdays. We'll look forward to seeing you all again. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks, Stefan. Thanks, Andrew and Judd. Great job. Thanks also to Rob and Nikki behind the scenes. Have a great Wednesday.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
all.
Good afternoon. Thank you.